Turn my light on. Hello, everybody. If that helps any.
Hey everyone, this is
Might be
Dr. J,
coming up.
Professor Spikes, coming live from Long
Long
Island,
Island,
New
the
York.
longest island.
Yeah, the longest
The
side.
longest island in the country.
It probably is if you count Brooklyn.
Well, you got it. It's in the same landmass.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so we had phenomenal inflation report, much more tepid than was expected. Much,
Right.
and the market really liked it. It was up about Dow. It was up about 750 in the morning.
Yeah. For a second,
More
it
than
was
a
sort of like that fusion thing. You know,
well,
they produce fusion, but only for a fraction of a second.
well, yeah, that's. Remember about 20 years ago, there was a couple of scientists that claimed they demonstrated fusion in their kitchen sink. You remember that?
Yes.
And they
Cold,
were
cold and wet fusion.
they were really scientists, real scientists.
Well, let's put it this way: if you can't create it in your living room, you can't create it inside a car.
But other scientists, about 10,000 other scientists tried to replicate their experiment without being able to.
Right.
What's the story? The actual story is you need like really, really cold temperatures, right? 0 Kelvin or close to
Cold
it.
fusion, right? Exactly.
And then to achieve those cold temperatures takes a lot of energy.
I think the Holy Grail. I think it's the other way around. The Holy Grail is cold fusion. That
Cold fusion, yeah.
is the Holy Grail. That because you need so much heat in order to create the energy.
Yeah.
They were using a lot of lasers, very very powerful lasers.
Yeah.
It was sort of like that other thing where they created the black hole just for a moment in time. Very quantum. So that's what happened with the $700 gain. It was quantum.
Yeah.
It was there, but it didn't have any persistence.
So I'm not going to be able to chart today. So you want to just chat today for a little while?
Yeah, I guess I mean, if anybody asks for anything, we could.
The main things I wanted to talk about is inflation, Moderna. I wanted to talk about crypto,
Yeah,
and
indeed.
I wanted to talk about SPY. Now, where do we start? At inflation or SPY, maybe?
Let's start with SPY because that's more general, and we always start the show at SPY
So in the
anyway.
morning, we actually broke the 410 high from about a month ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think it opened at 410 and a quarter. So we rose 25 cents above the previous high of about 3-4 weeks ago. And it also rose above the downward trend line as well as the 200-day moving average. So the spiders were rolling early in the morning. Now, although it broke the downward trend line from January, it only broke it by this much.
Yeah, like it just sort of peaked above it.
Yeah, so it broke it by this much and just for a little bit. And long enough to form a triple top. So
Triple top below the downward trend line. Yeah.
Yeah, so we have a triple top. Besides, it passed the downward trend line, but it also formed a triple top. There was a peak at 411 about 2 months ago, a peak at 410 3-4 weeks ago,
Okay.
and now this one at 410 and a quarter.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a triple top that formed today. Remember yesterday I was very bullish on the market, saying this market looks like it wants to run, and there's no.
It's looking for an excuse to run, indeed.
Yeah, it did. It did definitely look like it wanted to run from the charts, and I felt, and I expressed the sentiment yesterday that if we have a beat on the CPI and a dovish Powell, that the market's going to take off.
Right.
Well, we have half of my recipe.
Exactly.
Half of the recipe came true. And
I mean, we could all speculate about how Powell's going to react to this, but I have a feeling that he's going to be. Oh, Kamal's here if you want to bring him on. I have a feeling that he's sort of more hold your horses kind of person.
Probably. He looks like he's very deliberate in all of his actions. He didn't act quick enough when inflation roared its ugly head about a year ago. And
I
I
mean
think,
the transient inflation.
yeah, the transient, so-called transient. Well, it is transient. It'll go away in about 10 years.
Yeah, right. It
It
is transient.
it depends on your definition of transient. If the definition of transient is not permanent, then I guess he's right. But in any event, Jay Powell was deliberate. The Fed was deliberate in starting to raise, and I think they're going to be deliberate in stopping. So they're going to go beyond where they have to go.
Well, okay.
So my theory is
That's not how you achieve a soft landing.
they will still do the 50 points tomorrow.
They'll definitely do the 50, and if he doesn't hint about what he's going to do, what is it, January?
Yeah, February,
right. If he doesn't give any hints about what he's going to do in February, then people will still be a little skittish. But if he sort of hints that so everybody's not really worried about this 0.5. I think they're worried about what he's going to say about February.
Well, he's going to say the following. If he says the following, the market will rally like 1,000 points overnight. He doesn't have to say we're pausing. All he has to say is we're going to be data dependent.
Right. Okay. Very good.
So if he says those words, magic words, the market, the Dow will be up 1,000 tomorrow.
Right. If on the other hand he uses the word discipline, then we'll have a problem.
Yeah, the problem lies in using terms like sticky. Inflation is sticky, and we don't want to make the mistake that was made in the 70s of pausing and then having to hike again.
Right.
And having inflation roar back. We want to kill it. They want to kill inflation.
Right.
Now, in so doing, the danger lies in recession. But it's the thinking of a lot of economists now that there's a good chance we avoid it. For at least,
well, I mean, obviously, the
2020.
cheerleaders are thinking. Yeah, the cheerleaders are thinking soft landing. That's actually going to be feasible.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be feasible.
Yeah, I think if a lot depends on those magic words, data dependent. If the markets feel that he's being reasonable and will only hike if warranted, and let the hiking that he already did have its effect, because it is a big lag from the time you hike to the time it hits the gross domestic product and the inflation.
Okay.
So it's the hiking that he did 6 months ago, we're first feeling today. This report today is a reflection of the hiking he did 6 months ago. But what about all the hiking he's done from that point on? So there's a very good chance that not only does he kill inflation, but puts us in deflation.
Right. So that's another worry. I mean, obviously. So, the question is how worried is he about recession? If he mentions it, then he's going to indicate, like you said, that he's going to stay data dependent and sort of ease up on the throttle. But it just seems to me that a soft landing sounds like a unicorn.
Yeah. Look, even if we enter a mild recession, it's not a biggie. And it's the timing of the recession. Kathy Wood says we're in a recession now.
Well, she is.
That's what she says. I guess if you look at her portfolio, we're in a depression.
Yeah, exactly.
But her theory is we're in a recession now, and 2023 will see very tame inflation. In fact, disinflation. She sees us going back to 2% inflation a year or less by the end of 2023. One of the most optimistic calls of anyone.
Mm-hmm.
And in such an environment, how technology, innovations, technology, genomics, all of that stuff should have a very good year if that's the case.
Right.
So 2023 is going to be interesting. It's going to probably start off slowly as the disinflationary effects probably won't jolt us until the middle of the year. It'll probably take middle of 2023 before before everyone comes into some kind of agreement that inflation is licked, and we don't have to worry about inflation anymore. The wild cards, of course, are the price of oil, the war in Ukraine. These are wild cards. China COVID policy, China reopening. What's that going to mean? Is that going to add to the inflation woes?
Mhm.
But you know, the price of oil, some people think it's going into the 60s now.
Really?
Yeah. Some calls on even Wall Street calls in the 60s, some of them. It's all over the place. Some are saying it's going back to a break 100, retest 100. But it's all over the place. The price of oil has to come down to at least $60 a barrel before we start making new highs. We cannot make new highs with oil where it is. I mean, it sounds crazy to talk about new highs, but we're not that far away.
No, I mean, we hope we're in the right direction.
You know, the Dow is really only like 8% away from new highs, 10%, whatever it is. So it depends what index you're looking at. We've recovered off the lows, and many gurus now are coming around to the realization that we probably have put in a bottom on the markets.
Right.
So the bottom is probably in, and once that's come to, once that realization is arrived at by more and more folks, the money will flow in, and that'll lift up things. So
Right now, Chris is pointing out that after tomorrow there really isn't much data for the rest of the year to sort of spook the market one way or the other.
yes, so he's going to set the tone for the market for the next 2 months till the next Fed meeting,
Right.
or at least for another month until the next CPI report. Now the other thing is, did they go by CPI or did they go mainly by PCE? And the PCE is not quite as good looking as this month's CPI report. So that's another thing. We'll find out tomorrow.
Again, the word data dependent doesn't necessarily tip the hand in any way.
Well, yeah, it does, because if it gets away from the aggressive, we're going to do 20. He was telling you what the Fed was more or less going to do. He said we're going to do 50 points tomorrow, and I believe that's what he'll do. So if he uses the word data dependent, to me that means it's a split Fed. Half the folks are hawkish, half are dovish, and data dependent is a neutral word. So I'm looking for data dependent in the remarks.
Right.
And then I'm
buying.
As soon as he says data dependent, I'm buying SPXL.
Oh, really? Okay.
As soon as I hear that come out of his mouth.
Right. You'll have your finger on the button.
Yeah. And I like the fact that changing its subjects a little bit, crypto, I think is showing some life. Finally, I think, Bitcoin at 17.7 looks a lot better to me than Bitcoin at 15.7.
Right. Right.
And
yeah. I mean, eventually, I mean, I'm listening to all these reports about FTX, and the question is whether, whether even the news media has it right for people's basic understanding. And sometimes they conflate FTX with blockchain, and they conflate FTX with the coins themselves.
Right.
So,
And really, it has nothing to do with the coin itself,
right,
at least not directly. And some crypto exchanges, one of the big ones, Binance, is having huge withdrawals of crypto.
right. Well, the question is, are they keeping it in crypto once they bail it out of the exchange, or are they turning it into cash?
Yeah, well, we don't know what they're doing. That's the thing. This is a lack of transparency.
I mean, look, to have some, electronic battery holding onto my, my
I
information.
like to think that Coinbase is more responsible, but how do we really know?
Right. Well, the thing is, that's the problem. If they drink their own lemonade and start investing in crappy coins that don't mean anything, then yeah, then they're throwing good money after bad.
Yeah, we don't really know what they're doing with investors' money.
Right. That's the other issue. Right. There was that whole.
There's no regulation.
Oh, so yeah, when it says they're turning it into cash, so they can actually buy things.
Yeah.
Maybe,
The
maybe.
the thing is, to really move back up to 70,000, I think Bitcoin needs to be regulated. Some regulation to put some kind of trust in the
Well,
system.
but again, if you're putting the regulations on the brokers versus putting regulation on the coin itself, those are two different things, right? I mean,
Kamal says hi. Why?
yeah, no, Kamal may even be on the sidelines. I don't know if he is. He would see.
I don't know why he didn't come on.
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying? I mean, so if they end up putting the restrictions in the wrong places, then this is going to be meaningless. Right? You
Yeah,
don't want to put it. You don't necessarily need to put it on the coin itself.
yeah, yeah.
You have to put. You want to put it on. Maybe you want to put it a tax on the blockchain for on the data mining because it's so darn energy intensive.
That's
Or you
true.
want to or you want to put it on the behavior on the brokers so they don't do
I think you have
criminal
to.
things like
I
spending
think
other
you have
people's
to
money.
regulate the real dangers in these exchanges like the FTX, or Coinbase, or Binance. I
Yeah,
th- I think those are the ones that need regulation.
absolutely. I mean, this I didn't even know there was a regulation that says you can't steal. I thought even that was since Moses' time. But you're not allowed to steal.
Right, that should be a given.
Right.
Well, in Moses' time, if you stole, didn't they chop your hands off?
Chop your hands off.
Yeah,
Here, they let you sit in a nice Bahamian jail.
yeah.
Probably feed you pretty well there.
Probably in Allentown, Pennsylvania, right? Where that's where they send all the Wall Streeters.
Like, oh, Allentown, that's right. I'm sure it's very nice with the tennis courts and pools.
Pretty nice setup there. I think it's Allentown. They have a cushy jail in there. Anyway,
Yeah,
what else?
I'm not worried about this guy becoming uncomfortable.
Moderna made a tremendous move.
Oh yeah,
We should mention that mRNA,
yes.
and I think it was up 25% on the day, maybe 40 points or
At
something.
one point, yeah.
I think it
Not
closed.
right now. It closed 20.3%. Oh yeah.
Wow,
At 199.
about 200 even.
Yep. About 200.
Yeah, that's a tremendous move. And about a year ago, when we were at the track together, I told you they're going to have a cancer vaccine,
Right, you did. You
and
did.
we both bought it because of that. But it took
Sure, it looked like there was still plenty of room for
Yeah.
this technology. Just a
Well,
question of when
they
it
do
actually.
have the vaccine, and it's a viable one, and it was used together with Keytruda on melanoma patients, which is the toughest cancer of them all, outside of pancreatic, I guess.
Well, pancreatic is just because you catch it so late. But yeah, very good.
So it had a very positive effect together with the Keytruda. There's a lot of promise with that Moderna cancer drug. And if that's really good, in the future, that there'll be other versions of that drug for sure. And that stock will go from 200 to 2,000. It's got that kind of potential. That's why we bought it back then.
Indeed, indeed.
And it's only begun to show that potential. You know, biotech is going to definitely catch a bid. It's going to be the leader back. I have a feeling. Biotech will not be biotech, you know, in 23.
It'll be biohack.
Yes, because you're starting to see the companies being gobbled up that got knocked down too much, like Horizon by Amgen.
Uh-huh.
And you're going to see more of these positive announcements like Moderna today. Biotech is going to be really exciting, I think, in 2023. And gene editing stocks might catch a bid. You're going to see a lot of the AD drug stocks, PD and AD.
Mm-hmm.
Biotech is the place to be in 23. What do you think?
How would you play? Would you play the individuals or would you get back into IBB?
IBB clearly was a better ETF than XBI.
Yeah.
And I think that's because it has more big pharma.
Gotcha.
I think. So I would probably buy them both, along with some individual companies, whichever ones you like the most, whether it be Moderna or CRISPR or Sava. Sava is still on a roll. It was up again today.
Yeah, what did it do? Let's see.
Pretty soon,
Sava went up 5.5%.
Sava might be my second biggest winner of the last 2 years after Sava.
Which one?
Sava might be my second biggest winner after Sava.
Sava
is my biggest winner.
Right, that's funny.
So it might become my second biggest.
You mean Sava Phase 2?
Sava Phase 2. Sava Take 2.
Take 2, right?
Yeah.
The second edition.
So I'm absolutely thrilled that Sava is going up every single day. I'm not happy about BCRX. I'm not happy about
BCRX about 11 again.
I really was unhappy about Athersys. I mean, there's been a lot of disappointments.
Yeah.
Sava has not been one of them. Hopefully it won't be.
And Aurinia has been like awful.
Chris points out that the RNAi stocks might be the better play than the gene editing stocks. So, for example, ARWR, which I know Chris has a position for a very long time. So, you know,
very good point, Chris.
I think both are worth playing. Some of the RNAi and some of the gene editing. Yeah, definitely. Biotech is. We're gonna concentrate more on biotech than ever before because I think it's going forward going to be extremely exciting. A lot of new breakthroughs.
Yeah, well, it's about time we start talking about that stuff again.
Yeah,
any kind of enthusiasm.
It definitely is cyclical in nature. When the cycles are like 2, 3, 4 years at a time. Biotech. But when it gets hot, there's no better sector to be in. You see like these humongous moves from 2 to 30, that kind of thing, you know?
Right. I guess if you're playing this market as a speculator, you need an industry that surprises you and zigs and zags. Certainly bio is one of them.
Bio, definitely. I mean, it's exasperating because the companies always need to raise and they're always going back to dilute, and it's tough to be a long-term investor in biotech. Probably the way to play it is to be a short to medium-term investor and take profits when you see them. But of course, then you miss the occasional ones that become the Biogens and the Celgenes, and you don't want to, you know, if you play it halfway, you miss the big ones, the really big ones.
Big fish.
Yeah. So I'm sorry, my technology is such that I couldn't chart tonight. But
I
we'll
mean,
do it.
and then we need a little reflection.
On Thursday, we'll be back with the charts. And it was fun just chatting as well. We
Yeah, I
should-
mean, our gang is here, and they appreciate this, and they're loving to talk about crypto and the other things about the Fed moves. Linus was talking about Tesla. His hope to be able to get
Tesla,
out at a reasonable price. Well, before the question is, what's going to implode first, the market
the
or
market already, Tesla is very scary. Did you see the chart? It broke all support today.
Yeah, well,
It looks like it's
again, because people are conflating what's going on with that.
It looks like it's a free fall to $128 a share if you look at the chart. I looked at the charts earlier and it scared me. I didn't sell any, but I don't have that much, so I'm just holding. But it could really collapse, Tesla. And what else looked scary on the downside? A couple of things
Well,
on the downside.
I mean, my favorite, Meta.
Meta, the metaverse.
Well, I mean,
Amazon is definitely the most undervalued of the FANGs. Extremely undervalued. $88 the other day was ridiculous. It's $100 plus stock probably before the end of the year. I mean, that's what it deserves to be.
Right. What's it now? I don't even think I have it here.
I think it's 92.
92. Yeah.
Something like that. Extremely undervalued. If we get any move up, it's going to be a leader. It's going to be a leader, and Apple not far behind. Amazon, Apple, the two A's in the FANG. You can keep Facebook and Netflix and Google. I like Google include Google in there. I'm not sure about Netflix or Facebook.
Right. The FANGs. So we got somebody named Buttfucker who wants to know about Mario. Why it didn't get bought up by AstraZeneca? Mario?
MREO?
MEREO. Are you familiar with that company?
I am familiar with it. I don't know that much about it, about the takeover prospects. So I know Arenia aggravates the hell out of me because they turned down a $32 offer.
Right.
And it wasn't that long ago. What was it, about less than a year, right?
Yeah. And now they're $4.75.
That aggravates the hell out of me. We could have been out of that one with a nice profit.
True that.
Shoulda, woulda, coulda. Oh yeah, PaySafe. 12 to 1 reverse split. Where's Cabinet Guy?
Oh, and PaySafe? Oh my God.
Where's Cabinet Guy?
Yeah.
So now it's $13, which is probably the equivalent of $1.10, right?
Oh my God.
Yeah. And going down every day. It'll soon be $1 again after the reverse split. That's one I meant to unload and I just forgot.
Yeah,
I have it in
I'm feeling that one.
I have it in one of my portfolios that I don't look at that often.
Right.
I forgot about it. I'll probably unload it tomorrow.
Might as well.
Although some gurus see it as a bargain stock, but I see it as just going down more every day. I have enough. All right, so that's it. Speaking of enough, I think we spoke enough. We chatted enough, and
I think so.
It's up to Jay Powell. The ball is in his court for tomorrow.
Right. Cross your fingers, everybody.
Good chatting with you, Spike. Good seeing everybody today, Chris and Dennis. And I don't have my glasses on, so I can't see who else.
Well,
Adios.
we got to visit by Vladimir too.
Ciao.
Okay, bye-bye, everybody.